The Labour MP Tom Watson, a political opponent but a family friend. How will you remember him?
Look, he was a fine man and he was a great dad, and he was a very worthy opponent, a very substantial political leader, and he had many friends in the Labour Party, and I'm sure I speak for all of them when I say we're going to miss him. He was a very good person and our thoughts are with his loved ones and his family. And
in terms of his political career, an eloquent speaker, a man who always stood up very strongly for what he believed in.
Strange thing about Charlie was he kind of transcended party politics, really. You always viewed him as a friend, even when he was opposing you in the Chamber of the House of Commons, which he did very eloquently. It's very rare in that sense, and I think Malcolm Bruce's tribute earlier pinned it, hit the nail on the head when he said there was no ego, really. He had a very self-deprecating humour, and there was no pomposity, and that's a rare commodity in politics. He was just a very, very decent man, and I think politics is the worse off without him.
Do you think, because of that personal nature, he struggled maybe in the political world?
You know, it's sometimes very hard. You know, leadership makes very great demands on people, and when you're in the public eye, you're sometimes on a solitary journey, and I think he was probably troubled by the demands made on him by his party. But, you know, he rose to those demands. I mean, you know, let's not forget, he was the Liberal Democrats' most successful ever leader in electoral terms. They won 62 seats against the Labour Party when he was leader. That was a huge achievement, and he held a party with very different people and a wide array of views together, and he was focused and he held the government to account. So, you know, he will be a big loss to the Liberal Democrats, but he's a big loss to the country.
And this election saw lots of figures who were key members, really, in Westminster just disappearing as a result of the political results. How much do things change when figures like Charles Kennedy are no longer there? Someone who, as you describe and as many others describe, was quite a different character.
Well, though Charles lost his constituency, I was sure that he wouldn't have been lost to politics. I thought he would have played a leading role in the European referendum if and when it happens. I'm sure he would have helped rebuild his party in whatever role he could. He was a great speaker and a great writer, so you know, he would have still been a very significant figure on the political stage had he been still around.
Did you have concerns about him and his personal difficulties?
I think everyone did, but you know, he was a very, very private man, and as Malcolm Bruce said, he was also a little bit shy. So, you know, I know his loved ones cared for him very deeply, and they will be very upset today because they worried about him all the time. But he was he was loved. He was loved, and he did his very best for people when he could.
Nick Clegg has said that when he was at his best, he had more talent in his little finger than the rest of us put together. Is that how you would see him?
I think so. But I remember him as you know, I don't look at him as a politician. I just thought he was a very gregarious, kind man with a very great intellect, very well read, very thoughtful, and he looked after people.
Tell us about the best of times that you remember with him.
Oh, it was banter, really. It was always after votes. I mean, he for very many years, he gave the Labour Party a very tough time, but he never personalised it. It was always his sense of duty and out of leadership, and we would always make fun of each other after big debates. But he was a good man, and you know, he's left a young son, and the one thing I can say to his son is he should be very proud of his father, because he made a difference.
And he also had lost his own father in April, so he had two devastating blows coming very close together for him.
Yes, and he came from a very close family, and he had a very close-knit group of people around him who cared for him deeply, but he would have found that very difficult.
Tom Watson, thank you very much for joining us with your thoughts on Charles Kennedy.